Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. This is Multifamily Chronicles, and I'm your host, Adrian Danila. Today, we're recording episode number 43. My guest today is Victor Calloway. Victor, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, sir.
Victor, you're a regional service manager with IMT Residential.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's your current position, your day job. Please tell us a little bit about yourself, professional, personal background.
Starting, personal to get professional. I started in this industry 14 years ago, by what many would say probably an accident. I got in the industry due to an opportunity that was given to me by a sister-in-law of mine. And I was in like a in-between moment in my life where I needed something stable. So I was able to be hired on by a company, Mid-America Apartments, as a groundskeeper. Shortly, after that, I came across some great individuals who seen potential in me that I didn't see in myself. One of my peers by the name of Ron, he said, "Hey man, I think you got it. When it comes to maintenance, either you have it or you don't." And he kind of motivated me to, look into becoming a certified technician. Of course, at that given moment, it was like speaking a whole nother language to me. I didn't understand, what did it mean to become a service technician? He trained me. I made several mistakes and gained several opportunities of growth and development. And next thing you know, I went looking for a service service technician position. They didn't have any room at the time, so I landed myself at a company named Camden. Camden gave me a wonderful opportunity of being a service director. A service technician. Again, it was a phenomenal experience. Learned so much, so many beautiful individuals. And then I felt as if I was able to lead because of the circumstances that I went through and, previous employers and stuff. And IMT, they just had purchased the first property in Georgia, IMT Deerfield. And I interviewed with some colleagues of mine, and it was nerve-wracking because I've never been a manager before, but this company, they believed in me. They believed in the person that they've seen at that interview, and they wanted to give me a chance. So 7 years ago, I jumped on with IMT, gave, the best of the best that I possibly can give. They saw that I was capable of pulling teams together and leading. And they promoted me several times to now what I am as a service director. And now I have the privilege of being able to lead Georgia and Tennessee for IMT Residential that's based out of California.
Victor, would you like to share some of the great things that you have going on currently with IMT?
So right now, IMT, we're driven to be one of the, a premier operator. And with that comes service excellence. So we're trying, we found the niche. We found if you place your clientele first, people first, which I feel like we broke the code. We found how to make the system work. So right now we're focusing on how we could be a quick response as far as work orders. If it's, how do we get our quality homes ready within a certain amount of days? We're driving ourselves and setting goals within the company to be able to excel. We've working with, newer softwares and coming up with new training systems that help our own be profound and efficient for the industry. So one of the things that I can probably capitalize on is just we're coming up with a program of building culture. In this industry, it's very easy to get in a routine, right? Where people get familiar with their property and that's all they know. And then when opportunities present itself, it's very difficult to shift to those opportunities, meaning learning a new property, learning a new skill set. So we've expanded in that area to be able to help build our personnel, rather if it's different HVAC system setups, from garden style to mid-rises. We're advocate about building our employees.
Victor, what what geographical areas is your company covering? How, how how expanded are you?
So
Where are you, where can we find IMT?
well, for me, I'm in the Eastern region. So I'm Georgia, Tennessee. From time to time, I help my colleague out in Florida, Carolinas, anywhere that I'm capable of assisting. Uh, the properties are stretched out: California, Arizona, Texas. We have properties. We're trying to break the grounds in other states, but we have properties. I want to say, if I'm not mistaken, 12 plus states. If I had it right in front of me right now, I'd be able to read it off. But I mean, we're constantly expanding, which that's one thing I love about IMT. We have the potential to buy portfolios. So, but we make sure that we purchase smart. I mean, John and Brian, they're amazing individuals. And when it comes to the strategic areas, like when they purchased Deerfield, it was the first property in Georgia. Once it was doing its numbers and it was doing well, we purchased the property right next door, IMT Stoneleigh. That property, excelled. We ended up purchasing IMT Sandy Springs and Alpharetta. So it's kind of one of those things that we piggyback off the properties once, they're established and their success. So, yeah.
Kind of the strategy you set foot in the market and then just kind of build around that.
Yes, sir.
That
Yes,
completely makes sense. Victor, you had a remarkable career so far in the industry, and I'm sure that you're just getting started. What drives you, Victor? Would you like to share with our audience right here?
What drives me?
Yes, sir.
Of course, family. Wife, 3 kids. They make sure the fuel is in the engine every single morning to go out here and get it. But as being in this industry, what I realize is there's a lot of individuals that has so much potential and passion, hidden passion. It's crazy. It's a really tough industry, and it sharpens the dullest people, in my opinion. So what ended up driving me is I started seeing people who could go the distance. And all I had to do was help them look inward rather than outward. So now what drives me is seeing people grow. If it's adding on a new skill set, if it's, if it's learning something, trying to take their career to another level. I think that's secretly outside of family and my responsibilities at the house. I think it really comes to being able to see a service assistant exterior or groundskeeper have the vision of becoming something more, and you have the platform to be able to install those leadership roles and the confidence. And then a year, 6 months, a year span, you see this person develop into something massive for the industry. Like they're on the path of being a master technician or a senior technician or a service manager. When you see someone actually expand and grow, I think that's what really fuels me in this industry.
Victor, modeling the masters. I'm sorry, modeling the masters. What type of advice would you have for someone that's at the side level? They want to move up and step into a regional position like yours. Reason why I'm asking this question is that most professionals, maintenance professionals on site, are frustrated. They voice their frustration that their career path is limited. I've been that person. I've seen, I talk to many people all the time, and that's kind of one of their main frustrations. Hey, there are not so many opportunities out there. And once we reach service manager, that's about it. And honestly, I think that there's more to it. So what type of advice would you have for someone that's any type of position currently at the site level and wants to become a regional maintenance director like you?
Well, normally when I give advice, I always try to speak to myself, so I don't, feel as if I'm bigger or like a totem pole structure. One thing that I would say is you have to focus on more than just one thing. It can't be financially driven, because what I've learned in this industry, and I've had several examples, is people who want to get to that level, a lot of the times it's not for the right reasons. A lot of the time it's for the authority, or if it's for the title, or if it's for the income. You have to really want to change and lead individuals to solutions. So I would say for someone who really want to become a manager, first things first is you have to be able to manage yourself, right? Because when you become a manager, it goes from managing your duties from a day, rather if it's, okay, I got this many work orders, I got to pick up grounds, I got to do this, and whatever. When you become a manager, your concern shifts from yourself to the people around you. And if you're unable to be in tune with managing yourself, you're not going to be able to manage people. Now, on a broader scale, we don't understand how much we manage. You're managing families, people who are coming to work, giving their best effort. They have families back at the house. You're managing families from the contractors. So when you realize this greater responsibility that you have to realize that you have to be approachable. Yes, you're human. You're going to have off days, but you can't live in those off days. You have to govern work-life balance for a lot of people. You can either create solutions or real problems. So a lot of the times people you have to know everything in order to get to the next level. You have to stay a student during your growth. You can't have a closed mind. Well, this is how I'm going to lead. No one can tell me anything, because I've seen those guys fall the hardest. So overall, you have to really be able to manage people, be aware of people, psyche, their mind frame, how they're coming into work, how you can make it a better, because at the end of the day, regardless of our positions, we take negatives and we turn them into positives. People are calling you with problems, rather if it's HVACs or, this isn't working. No one's calling saying, hey, the dishwasher's working fine, come on over, So it's a constant thing where you have to stay neutral and always find solutions, make sure your inventory is there and everything. You got to be able to get in front of a lot of things. So the main advice will be, one, be able to talk to anybody, be kind, and love what you do. Because of course, this industry, the money will change. I found myself doing those same exact things for IMT. It was very hard for me to put a dollar amount to what I was doing. And when I just loved what I did, the blessings came, and I think because I was so selfless and I cared more about the teams, the property. You're going to put in your time, long days. It pays off. People see that and they go, okay, he has the traits and characteristics of a leader. It's not just a 8 to 5 shindig. He's not putting on a front to get the title, because a lot of people, what they do is they see the opportunity, then they get ready. And that's the wrong mentality to have. You have to already be doing it in order to extract the opportunity. So yeah, be calm, be selfless. Don't chase the dollar amount, because the industry will change. The market will change. So if you're jumping, oh well, I've seen guys jump ship for $2 more, and it's like, you put so much time, effort, and energy into a product, into a company, that who knows if around the corner you were going to get something even greater than that, because they've seen your loyalty and the consistency and the being determined and all these other things. So yeah, be great, be yourself.
I wanna pick up on guys jumping ship for $2 more.
Mm-hmm.
So the labor shortage is a real issue for the industry. It has been a very serious problem for years. Now with COVID, with pandemic, with everything that followed, that kind of accelerated things. So we are in a really difficult situation, honestly, from a human resource standpoint in apartment maintenance. My personal opinion is that we haven't seen the end of it. Things are just gonna progress for the worst as a general rule. Of course, some companies will find ways to alleviate this pain. They will find ways to lead, and actually attract most of the talent. Victor, I want to get your take on, just talk about the phenomenon. How did we get here? It's a phenomenon known as the Great Resignation, I guess, mainly. How did we get to people resigning at this levels, this high, very high turnover in ranks, and then how how do we find solutions? What type of solutions do we have to make the situation better?
You're absolutely right. When it comes to it being a technician's market, whenever there's a high demand for something and there's an awareness of it, I feel two different ways. I feel like the way that it's being played can eventually come back on the people who are jumping around trying to extract so much out of the market because it is a technician's market, especially after the pandemic. Companies, I feel like, have to change the way that they view service personnel. In my professional opinion, service personnel always felt as if they were at the bottom of the totem pole. And it's unfortunate, but they really don't feel, a lot of them don't feel a part of the cause. They feel like ground level doing grunt work. So for a long time, I don't think that service personnel have received the appreciation of, or value from a company. Now, the market has changed where it's a high demand. It's so high that companies are willing to take technicians who have recently earned their EPA certifications, their HVAC certificates and stuff. So it's one of those, you can have 6 months to a year of experience and offer a higher dollar in value. So what happens is experience went out the door, and those that are experienced are expecting far more. The other day I asked a group of individuals, and this ties into your question, how do you feel appreciated? What has to occur for you to feel appreciation from a company? And it all resorted down to two things: time and money. Unfortunately, one go hand in hand. You have to put in the work in order to get the money. And then the reason time came up is because you can spend so much time at home, but then what? Work-life balance has always been a challenge in trying to find the right amount of work and, time off, so when companies start to value the technicians a little bit different, if there's bonuses, right? If it's not just necessarily monetary value, but if it's ways to appreciate the actual department, I feel like that will probably be ways of shutting the back door from the high employee turnover. I feel like it would make the technicians actually value the companies a lot more. And it's not, well, I can get $5 more by going over here. Because sometimes that doesn't resolve the actual issue. That doesn't resolve if you're just jumping because of $5 and $3 and $2 and $7. I mean, overall, you're doing the same things and you're changing the environment. But what happens is you're actually starting to depreciate the value of a service personnel. Now they're going to start looking at service personnel as different, where it's going to look like a hustle. You're not going to reap the benefits or the rewards of being a hard worker with all these skill sets and trades. And it's not going to mean anything because now everybody's going to look at us like we're only here for a year, 2 years until another opportunity comes knocking on the door. So to answer your question, I feel like it has to change simultaneously with the personnel and the company. A lot of the times, if you go into a company and you know that there's a career path for you, you know that, hey, I start here, but if I work hard, I can end there. I think it would continue to captivate the attention of the individual. If someone's getting there day in and day out and they're doing the same old things, they don't see no growth and development within the company. And I mean, of course, we're always going to be looking for the next opportunity. Of course, everybody wants to move up, of course, but that's a tough one. That's a tough one to find a solution for, because I mean, you can have companies that value their people, you know, all the way, but then you have the people that don't take that value to heart, you know, take it serious, and then miss out on that. And what happens is the company's like, all right, I'll give you an example. Say we had a company and we hire service personnel. When they come in, we supply them uniforms, we supply them steel toes, we supply them tool bags, we supply them everything that they need, right? And then 3 months, they take everything that we built them up to be, they take that and they go off. They take those tools, they take those. So then me and you come together and we go, hey, well, we're building these individuals just to leave us high and dry. So now what can we do differently to value? So now it might change. Well, you have to work with the company for, you know, 6 months in order to get so it's going to constantly change. Because either way, it's like we don't want to find ourselves in the same situation where we're on a limb, we're left high and dry. So I mean, I'm still trying to figure that portion out as well. But I realize that a lot of the guys in this industry, when they feel appreciated, they gain a loyalty, they trust the company.
I think there's ways to really increase employee retention, and they're not secret really. When you look at companies that are doing it well, you're gonna see that they have, you know, long tenure, and I don't think they ever had to worry about, you know, buying uniforms or investing in someone and being afraid that they're gonna leave. My personal approach to a situation like this is that I want you to be the best person that you could, you know, that you could be, the best professional. I'll help you in any way I can, and I will wish you the best no matter what. If you choose at some point, you know, if you make a decision to say it's not gonna be within my organization, I'm gonna, you know, wish you the best. I'm gonna give you a recommendation, and I would hope that, you know, this is gonna be the right move for you. Keeping, you know, being afraid that people are going to, you know, resign. I think people are going to resign, you know, sooner than later. It's very rare where people, you know, start in an industry and they just gonna stick around for 5, 10, 15, or 30 years to just make one job their entire career, or one company their entire career. So we have to be realistic to what the expectations are. The employee tenure has shortened over the years. I think that, you know, there's still companies out there that get, like, you know, you're a great example. You've been with your company for 7 years, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So they must be doing something right for you to stick around for 7 years. So I will start right there. You know, how did they treat Victor to get him to stay for 7 years? And you just kind of, you know, you find the answers from Victor, and you basically just go back and extrapolate and say, hey, maybe there's value. For sure, there's value in what they did, the way they treated you. You know, otherwise, why would you have stuck around for this long? And just kind of replicate that situation to the other maintenance personnel and to the other employees. I think the answers are there. It's just that I think we tend to be blindsided, or we tend to look in the wrong direction. We're looking at, hey, we need to reinvent something. I think most of the answers are already there. It's just looking for them. Look at companies that do this right. Look at managers and leaders that do this right, because you could have a very large company that, you know, right here, employees think that, you know, it's a great company, and next state over, not so much. I've seen that as well. And it all starts at the very top with the leaders. When you have a great leader and a great team, people love to work with that person. I had many examples in my career where I had opportunity to work with great leaders, and then that made me desire to go and follow them when they left the organization and go to work somewhere else. Sometimes that did happen. Sometimes that wasn't a possibility. It didn't work out. But overall, I think it comes down to people, and it starts from the top. The way leadership walks the talk. So the solutions are there. It's just for us to look for them, to pay attention and see who does it right. And all we need to do is to replicate, understand what they do right and replicate. Do you disagree?
No, that's you're absolutely right. You know, when I first went to IMT and one of my colleagues, you know, introduced himself and he said, "Hey, I've been with the company, I think at the time it was 12 years." And then when you hear that, you go, "Wow, you know, that's a highlight," because nowadays 7 years is equivalent to like 15 back in the day, you know, especially how things, you know, move. New companies. I mean, they're building, especially here in, you know, in Atlanta, Georgia, they're building properties left and right. You know, new companies are surfacing. So when it comes to hearing someone work for the company, you asked, well, wow, the company must be really, you know, doing something where they're keeping people around for that long. And then, you know, you do your research and you find out that, okay, so it is this. They do, you know, they do care, they do listen, you know, and then those are some of the things that make you want to stay around too. You know, when someone asks you, hey, what do you think? Just that little gesture right there, you know, rather if the problem's big or small, is the fact that you have input. Um, so yeah, you're absolutely right. I 100% agree with you.
Victor, what advice would you give to someone that might consider joining the apartment industry, the apartment maintenance? What are some pieces of advice that you would have for them?
It's a demanding job. Well, for service, speaking from the service portion of things, it's a labor intensive. It's a job you have to show up. It's not just picking up trash or closing out work orders. We're far more than that in this industry. So, um, and I try to take the veil off of a lot of people's eyes when it comes to, you don't know how much of a difference you're making in someone's life. You're creating homes. You're managing homes for families. Um, but coming into this industry, you have to be willing. You have to be willing. You have to be willing to work as a team. It's a team-based industry. This isn't a situation where you can come in and try to feel like the MVP or the superstar. You can't do that. You have to come in willing to take in all of the information that's given. I've seen several individuals come into this industry and they use the term, you know, newbie, green. But I think life itself give us the experience for this industry. You know, a lot of the times their backgrounds come from, you know, I had a passion to fix things around the house when I was little. Um, or, you know, I like making people happy, helping people. And when those are some of the core ingredients to, you know, who they are, I think if they have those things, man, they'll excel, because not a lot of people come into this industry and actually have longevity. It's just kind of like an in between. But my main thing will be, you know, be willing, be open, be ready.
Victor, uh, tell us a little bit about the best ways to attract talent from the industry, from from competition and from outside the industry. From your experience, what were the most efficient ways that you found to bring great talent into your organization?
For me, it was a little different. Um, I didn't focus solely on skill set. I focused solely on the person that they were, or at the time. Um, so during the interview process, a lot of the times people like to focus on, do you know how to install? Do you know how to, are you good at plumbing? Those skill sets are learned on a daily basis. And those skill sets can change over time. When you learn the person and you actually give them the opportunity to be themselves, I feel those have been the strongest recruiters. Like being able to come in and say, hey, this is a platform where you can be yourself. Being yourself got you to this point, and being yourself is going to take you much further. I've seen that when people start to have confidence in themselves, it's overnight, or and I know that term overnight is not a good thing, but what I mean is it's a consistent uphill for them, But when hey, this is how we do things. This is our expectations. We want it done this way. I mean, it's only so long that they're able to perform it that way. But if you give people the freedom to get to those solutions off of their skill sets and talents, I think those are the ones that flourish the most. Because I realize that a lot of the times it's just changing the environment, the setting. It's not necessarily, hey, you've been in this industry for 15 years, come over here. Because at that point, what do you have to offer? The only thing you have to offer is, we'll pay you well. Excuse me, we'll pay you well. But if you go, hey, you have 15 years of experience, what are your goals? What do you want to become in this industry? And oh man, they could say, hey, I want to be a teacher. I want to find my way into a corporate office where I can teach individuals how to do this. Or, I want to be a manager. I want to be a service director. And then you go, okay, well, I give you those opportunities. If you come here, you put your best foot forward, you be kind, you stay in the learning. The reason I say stay learning is because the company changes. A lot of the times you go from, work orders on paper to work orders on the software. So even with those changes, you can't expect people to stay the same. So it's just like, hey, bring what you have to the table, apply it each and every day, and I guarantee you that you'll put yourself in positions where you could get, closer to what you want to become. We'll give you that platform or that step up or that opportunity. And a lot of the times, I think that's what wins over the talent. They're like, well, if I can go here and I can be myself, if I can go here and I can do what I love or care about and have the ability of opportunities, man, since I've been with IMT for 7 years, I mean, I've never seen so many promotions. And I'm not saying promotions is just, hey, you get a promotion. I'm talking about people who came to work, worked hard, did what they love, were themselves, and gained that opportunity, So I think allowing people to be themselves is the best way to recruit talent.
Excellent. Very well put. Victor, culture. Culture is a topic that I'm very passionate about. I like to speak about, I like to write about. I want to ask you, what are the things that matter most to you when it comes to company culture?
This was good. The one thing that matters the most is no matter how big the company gets, it still feels like, the term I'm gonna use is family, or a system that works. So when I think of culture, you have your ways set in the company, rather if it's here, we high five, we take our people out to lunch once a month. I think the best way to build culture is to know each other. because then what happens, you work well when you know the person you were working next to. A lot of the times in this industry, we find ourselves only doing the necessaries to keep the assets afloat. When it comes to culture, I think that's when you direct more of the attention on the people that's running the asset. And when you find yourself, like for instance, if you're sending technicians to help out a struggling property because the work orders are over, or they have an emergency, or they have so many move-ins that need to be done, during that heat of the moment of going to assist, if that's the way of handling things, you're missing the opportunity of building, because people are on a mission to get something done. When you send the same group of people to a property that's not struggling or suffering, and you're able to work hand in hand on special projects, you're able to cross-train. Hey, I'm gonna send this leasing agent over to that property so they can get the experience of a bigger property or whatever it may be. I think that's what's building. Because then when a company grows, or if something happens where they sell a property, there's no hiccup. There's no gap or detachment or void, because we're familiar with everything that goes on. The more you know the company, the more you have the ability of knowing the company, I think the culture gets thicker. So spending more time, because I mean, at the end of the day, they're like family, right? You spend more time with, if it's not your own personal family, you're spending time with the people you work with. So knowing those people, and what I mean by knowing on it is, hey, they say, managers, people don't quit companies, they quit managers, right? So I think in order to get the culture where it needs to be, it's learning the managers, learning the roles, in a professional standpoint, where you know people. I think that's what helps with the culture. When you're able to, outside of holidays, holiday dinners and company functions, if you're having a lot of face time with the people you work with, when you know who you're working with, I think that's what helps the culture.
It's very important to know your people. I completely agree. Like, knowing them, you know what matters to them. Knowing what matters to them, you could create a type of environment that actually provides the things that matter to them.
Yes, sir.
Victor, the next topic for me is competitive pay. Everybody talks about competitive. I think this is an word that I'm using. It's been overused, and the phrase that I hear the most is, "We are offering competitive pay, but people don't want to work." So I disagree with the statement mostly. I think that with the right amount of pay and with the right benefit package, people will really be interested in working for any organization. So I do want to ask you, and I don't expect that you give me a number. Hey, for service technician, we're gonna pay 23 an hour because that's the right. How do we build this competitive pay? How do we come to the right numbers when it comes to pay? And again, I completely understand that based on the age of the asset, the difficulty, the size of the asset, the part of the country that is located in, the numbers will vary. But what are some things to be taken into consideration when we build competitive pay, a pay that we wanted to be competitive in the market?
I think you hit it on the head. It's a lot of variables. When it comes to the age of the property, the size of the property, when it comes to their skill set, their knowledge, a lot of things are factored into that pay. Every year, when properties are doing budget, right? You go to your vendors and you say, hey, last year, for example, you've charged me $125, $175, $200 to paint 1, 2, or 3 bedrooms, whatever. Every year that has to take place for that budget. I think checking the market because overall, you're absolutely right. You pay, well, you said if you pay someone so much, they feel like, there's a niche. Now, there's different states, different start off rates. I mean, 7 years ago, the start off was $15 an hour for a technician. Now you're looking at 22, 25, 27, depending on those same variables. And the reason being is because it's a high demand job. I think you said it in one of our meetups where it's like, people that are hot want to be cooled down, and people who are cold want to be heat. It's a demand. Someone who comes along and has this, certification and information to perform this job, it's kind of a middle ground. It's like, okay, look, this is what we have to offer. If we give you, you make 50,000, 60,000 a year, for what position it could be, let's say a technician position, somewhere between 50, 60. And then okay, cool. But then you say, you know what? We have structural bonuses here from your performance that might hold on to them, right? If now you're able to, now you have more of a playing field. Hey, we also train and get you certified. We have management training. Now you're playing around with the competitiveness, because overall, if it's just a numbers game, you might have a wonderful candidate on the table, but because that other company had the ability of offering them $5 more, then it gets, I think the real competition is, okay, what can we add value to? Hey, if you come work for us, we'll put you in a position where you could be a manager within a year, and we'll pay you. You see what I'm saying? Hey, we're starting off, and you come here and you help with A, B, and C. We can put you in position to be over the department of. Now that's a competitive. Okay. But if it's just, hey, they have 3 offers on the table, $20, $25, $30, of course, they're going to go to the $30, right? But let's say that the one in the middle had a little bit more to offer, just in different benefits. So when it comes to competitive, I think it's a constant revisiting the market. What is the demand for a technician? We just can't say, okay, well, this is what it's going to be, and then expect it to be that for the next 5 years, and then increase 3, 5, however much percent increase every year for it. It has to be something that's constantly revisit. So yeah, I feel like when it comes to competitive, you have to add a lot of more benefits than just salary.
I love the fact that you brought up, the fact that you got to go to the market and find out. I've seen people being very, very dogmatic about, they have their own ideas about how, what competitive pay should be, and they're strictly basing that on their own opinions. I pull LinkedIn all the time for the reason that 100 or 200 or 300 people's opinions beat one person's opinion, which is mine, by a lot. So I'm polling because I try to learn. You mentioned value. I will say it's perceived value. You might think that you provide value. If your candidate does not perceive that as being value, or is not of value to them, it's really no value. Perception is reality. So I will say that, yes, it's value. It's the way your candidates perceive value. The way you find out what that value is, you ask. And then that'll give you the recipe for, for success out there when you go out and recruit. Do you disagree?
No, I think Listen, you're very wise in what you do, sir. You've understand a lot of the things that's put out there, and you're right. That's powerful. That's powerful information right there.
I just don't think that I'm any type of special individual. I just pay attention to what other people are saying and
Mm-hmm.
try to process that. Try to process it. And I have my own opinions about certain things, but when it comes to things like pay and what matters to people, I don't try to take this, get too much involved at a personal level and insert what I think is valuable for me. And I'll give you an example. I did a poll a while back, and I asked my audience, what are the things that would really matter to you? And one of the things when it comes to a job, for me at the time, was meaningful work, and meaningful work was one of the answers. When the results came back, meaningful work rated very low. So very few people pick that. Then I realized that based on where you are in your career, there are different things that matter to you. When you're entry level to mid level, pay will probably play the most significant role, because the way the difference between being able to provide for your family or not being able to, everything else goes out the window. If you have great bosses and a great work environment, but the pay is not much and you're not able to provide for your family, what good does that do to you? You don't want to be out in the street. You want to be able to put gas in a car, food on the table, take care of your family. So I realized that up to a certain point, pay is always going to be the top reason by far over everything else. And then, once you reach a financial comfort, because, you're making enough money, whatever that comfort level is, then you consider other things to say, hey, in my position, I know that I'm going to make, let's say, 100,000 a year. I'm just making up a number. And it's kind of a given for this type of position pays 100,000. That's going to be enough to give me the comfort. So I could consider other things. But for people that make 30 and 40 and 50,000, and they have a large family, they have family obligations, they have a lot going on, they don't look at it this way.
No,
For
they
them,
don't.
it's literally a battle for survival. Like, it's survival first, and then the other important things, they're important as well. I still believe meaningful work is important, but what I'm saying is the way you rank, each person ranks them is based on their current situation. And you don't know what my situation is, and I don't know what your situation is. But if I'm asking, then that's a certain way to find out where your position, correct?
Correct. I remember a time where service personnel, service managers will probably get like free apartments or, a little bit more than the standard percent discount, and those are the benefits that I'm talking about. So like, for instance, the same person, if they're offered 100,000 a year, right? But then a company offers 50,000, but a free apartment. It's one of those things now. It's like, well, immediately they're thinking, well, I don't have to take care of shelter. So the money I do make, I could probably take, so it's kind of or 50,000, let's say 70,000 with the discounted property, discounted apartment. But you're absolutely right. I don't think there's not a doubt in my mind that if anybody feels like they can't provide for their family, a lot of stuff do go out the door. So that's where it's like, looking at the market, are you looking at inflation? Are you looking at your competitors? Are you looking at what are they kind of addressing to say, okay, look, we need to pay our technicians this amount, more, so it's a stability with them. Because if we don't hold the end of this bargain up a little bit, they're going to go out looking for other places because it's definitely difficult to survive out there, you know. So that's the constant revisiting and making sure that you're taking care of your, you know, of your personnel. So yeah, but I'm with you, man. When it comes to companies that tend to put their employees first or their people first. And I know it's business, we're worried about the asset, but if you lose sight of the people who take care of the assets, yeah, it's going to be a revolving door. It's going to be a turnover, right? But when you focus on the people first, they're going to take care of the properties. Are y'all okay? What do y'all need? Y'all, what resources do y'all need? You know, it's important to take care of the real asset is the people that take care of the assets.
Victor, one of the main causes for people to leave companies or to leave the industry altogether is burnout. I want to ask you, can you think of a few ways that we could prevent burnout?
Teamwork. Teamwork is the only way to prevent burnout. And the reason I say that, you know, I follow this group on Facebook that has several individuals from our industry, and you're able to go in this group and be anonymous and speak about a problem that you're having. And a lot of the times that anytime someone's mentioning burnout is because they don't feel the support from the upper management. They don't feel support from their peers. They feel like the entire weight of the world is on their shoulders, you know, and I feel like when there's a breakdown in communication and teamwork, your burnouts happen a lot faster. So a technician comes to work and he doesn't have the support from his service manager. There's a rotational, if it's the on-call where he's pulling more weeks on the on-call, you know, if he's required to work, you know, 3 additional man hours outside of the 8 hours or 40 hours that's required, he starts to feel the weight. A lot of the times in interviews, people are saying, man, this company got me transporting appliances from one end of the property to the other on the dolly. They didn't give me a golf cart, or they're not giving me help. Or anytime that there's a breakdown in teamwork, what I realize in this industry, people get tired. People get tired quick. You know, if it's the leasing agents, I'm in the office all the time by myself, or the assistant manager, the community manager is on the runs and she's not necessarily training me. It's lack of training, lack of communication, lack of teamwork. That creates the burnout. Now, in the service department, I ask all the time, I say, hey, when you guys are picking up grounds, are y'all leaving it on one position to pick up grounds, or all of y'all taking 1 hour out of the day, rather, if it's a week or whatever, to walk grounds for that groundskeeper? And they look at me strange, like, what do you mean? Well, if you're not doing that, I can guarantee you that groundskeeper is starting to feel burnt out. He's feeling like he's coming to work. He has to clean up everything. People have lives outside of work as well. So you mean to tell me the problems that we face outside, we got to come to work and it's still all on us? Something's going to give. I can't do this no more. This is too much for one person. But I guarantee you, if you analyze each personnel, what can I help them with? That's what's going to alleviate the burnouts.
Victor, one of the most hated things by maintenance on-site personnel is being on call. It's a well-known thing. It's on all the social media forums, and it comes up in a conversation every time I speak with someone that's in the industry, almost every single time.
Right.
What can we do, or what does your company do to better structure the on-call, the compensation, the schedule, the expectations to help alleviate this pain?
So I'm gonna give you a little bit of more than what my company would do. I would think I'm gonna give you what I would think would help the industry altogether.
Sure.
So in certain regions, when properties are less than like 2 miles from one another, sometimes combining on call gives more of a rotation, you know. So if you have a team of 3 and you have a team of 4 combining the call, now it's a rotation of 7 people on call. Sometimes that alleviates it. I know solutions like trying to find a company that can cover on call for a month or two to kind of give a breather to the on-call technician, because a lot of the times it's not the actual on-call that's stressing them out, it's the psychological warfare behind it. It's the can't go too far because his phone might ring, right? Can't take a shower because the phone might ring, can't go to sleep because the phone, and then the fear of missing the calls is anxiety on its own. I think to reconfigure the on call where it's more of a team integrity first, but like a team thing where it's not all left on one person. I have properties that have it set up where you're on call for a day, one day, and it's a rotational thing, and everybody kind of gets a day out of the week. And it's not somewhere where it's Thursday to Thursday and they feel like, now that I'm off call, I got to heal from this mental, is it ringing? Is it not ringing? Say that someone had a horrible week and they got like 15 plus calls. Well, now the weeks to come, they're healing. And then by the time they're ready to work, the phone's right back in their hands. So it's kind of like, man. So looking at what's determined as an emergency, some companies go fire, flood of blood, other companies, if the resident raises a concern, it's an emergency. If they have 2 bathrooms and one bathroom is unoperable because it's backed up, if it's a single bathroom, it varies from different companies, but I think revisiting that list, going over, hey guys, what's considered an emergency? Uncontrollable leaks, of course, power outages. For me, it was changing the HVAC not working. Like, it's okay, what's the grace temperature in the summertime? If the apartment is this hot, we have to go. In the wintertime, if it's this cold, we have to go. Like, I think it should be, guidelines to what's an emergency, what's not, rather than, hey, if that phone ring, you have this amount of time to call back, you have this amount of time to respond, you have this amount of time to get back to the property. It's just a conversation that has to be had, with the people who are on call. But yeah, combining properties, finding a company that can carry over to give the personnel a break, could be in the summertime, could be, whatever. You just can't get rid of it because it's a essential task. It has to be someone to respond in case of emergencies. Do you create a department that's all they do is pull on call? They night shifts, fire watches, and on call. Like I said, it's a conversation that you have to kind of explore a little bit, but the solutions are there. It does drag people out of the industry, where they're like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm tired of, if I'm on a small property and we're passing the phone back and forth between myself and the manager, you're right, that'll run somebody out of the industry unless they actually have a passion to do it.
Victor, in closing, I'd like to give you the opportunity to say something or maybe answer a question or a topic that we didn't cover during our conversation, and just whatever else you might want to add.
First of all, I appreciate this grand opportunity to sit down and speak with you. It's been nothing but a kind of a dream come true. I wrote it down on a to-do list earlier this year to actually do a podcast for a multifamily platform. So it's in fruition. I've I definitely could check that off. for people who are in this industry, it's a difficult thing, but it's love in it. You're, creating and managing homes for families is very important in this world. I couldn't tell you how effective it is, regardless if we just look at the market and what it is. It's like, if you really realize what you do and the people that depend on you and the people that, care about you showing up, I think changing your perspective on the industry will have you work the industry a little bit different. Find your passion. If you don't know what you enjoy doing, you have to explore what you love doing. So if it's servicing others, fixing problems, then this industry is definitely for you, because at the end of the day, it's a team work based. It's a efficient, a lot of wonderful opportunities, small world. You never know who you work with. And it's just, overall, I think it's an industry where people can get in routine. And right now I'm trying to figure out a system to help people kind of realize their superpowers. And that way they're able to work efficient, regardless of the company, regardless of the crew, the property. You have to love what you do. But all in all, I think today really opened up my mind a little bit more on some of the topics where I can go back and share, because that's what it's all about, sharing the knowledge and stuff you come across, help people get to that next level. I really do appreciate this, Adrian. I really do. So thank you so much, sir.
No, thank you very much for making time to come meet with me here and with the audience. I hope to continue this conversation down the road to do a second episode.
Yes, sir.
Because there's a lot more that I would like to cover within a next conversation.
Yes, sir.
Everybody, thank you very much for watching us. I'm your host, Adrian Danila. This is Multifamily Chronicles, and I hope you have a great day.